this is Matt Boldy, and you're listening to Locked On Wild.
You're Locked On Wild, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Wild. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, you know what that sound means. It is time for yet another live show here on a rainy Monday evening. Let's get you right into the festivities. There's a lot to talk about here tonight. And so without further ado, I will bring in our host. Good evening, Denny.
And good evening to everybody tonight. And welcome to What the Hell Are You Smoking? Tonight's show are the Wild in Crisis, Part 2, Billy. And the reason I say that is because tonight's show is all about Billy. What I want to review the last 2 years as him as GM. And has he hurt us or has he helped us? And, I could go back farther, but I think the last 8 trades pretty much say it all. Now, when you look at the last 8 deals he's made and this doesn't include the Iowa boys. I'm just for the club, for the big boys. He signed Gustav Nyquist, Justin Brazeau, and Jurasek. He traded for Gustav Nyquist, Brazeau, and Jurasek. He signed Trennan, Johansson, and re-signed Wallstedt. Now, let's start with Gustav first. Exactly what did he bring to the table to help the Wild this year in the limited games he played? He scored, 2 goals in 30 games?
Yeah, I think that was, if I recall, I believe that was the number.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't even come up to 10 goals per year. That's a hell of an acquisition to help for the playoffs. And of course, we all know what he did in the playoffs. Nothing. So do you think that was a good acquisition or a bad acquisition? Is there anybody on the show yet?
Nathan's here. He said
Nathan?
it's Denny time.
Yeah. Well, Nathan, what do you think? Was Gustav Nyquist?
He says it's a bad trade.
Absolutely. The worst trade in Wild history, as far as I'm concerned. Unless you can name one that's worse, I don't know of any, especially for a second round. And then Brazil, whatever. What exactly did he bring to the table, and was he a good acquisition? That's a flat hell no for me. He didn't do anything. Can't skate, has hands of stone. Look at all the chances he had inside tight on the net. Did nothing. Just a hell of an acquisition to help the team.
Now, I know it ended up being because of the fact that the Florida Panthers got to the Eastern Conference Finals. I know it's a conditional first-round pick now, but I think you are still willing to give that up, considering that Brad Marchand led them in points in the series against Toronto as their trade deadline acquisition.
For a second-round pick. How does Florida get Marchand? We get Gustav Nyquist. That tells me 2 things. Either Billy isn't listening to his scouts, or he's listening to his scouts and doesn't care. Now, can you honestly tell me the Wild are not in crisis mode with Billy at the helm? And it only gets better. Let's go to Yakov Trenin, sign him to a 4-year deal. What did he bring to the table? How did he do for the year? as far as I'm concerned, if we didn't sign him, we would have been much better off. What he brought to the table, what he had, we already have several players like that. Yeah. And somebody had commented that they brought him in just for the playoffs. Well, what did he do in the playoffs? Nothing. Another one of old and slow boys. Billy's batch number 3. He did absolutely nothing to help the team. And as one of Billy's acquisitions, you really ought to start being worried now. And let's go to Johansson. He signed him to a 2-year deal. He has scored 22 goals in 2 years as a top 6 forward. That ranks him last in the NHL. That was a hell of a pickup. I'm not exactly sure what they see in him, especially, and this doesn't have to do with Hines. This has to do with Hines. You pull Z William for making one mistake when you have Johansson playing a mistake every time he's on the ice. Yet Johansson plays and Z gets booted. And of course, that's Billy's pickup. He signed him. So it's Billy's acquisition. And to pick up somebody who's last in the NHL for top 6 forwards, that's a hell of a job. I just, if you aren't getting more worried about crisis mode in Minnesota, you better start, because this is what you're looking at, his past history. Now let's go to Jurasek. We put a lot of money out on there for him. Gave up a lot to get the young man. And then you have a coach that won't play him. Well, Billy, you hired him knowing he won't play the kids. All he needed was just one little reason, and he was off the team, sitting on the bench. If that is not crisis mode 2, I don't know what is, especially with all the kids coming up. And then we have Wallstedt, who you signed as the 3rd goalie to start the season. You sent him up and down from Iowa so much. Everything about goalies is about confidence. And you just totally screwed him up. And yeah, he got hurt 3 times in Iowa, and he didn't play that well. Well, when you look at how they treated him, they screwed him up big time. Now, I was told at the end of the year that Wallstedt was back to being old Wallstedt. And I have no problems with him for next year at all. I'm not worried about him at all. Wallstedt, you're going to see, is going to be a hell of an acquisition, but that was Judd's pick, not Billy. And when Wallstedt and Gusbus are here, we're going to have the best tandem 1-2 goalie in the league. Yeah, I know everybody's going to say I'm crazy for saying that, but you know what? That's what I really see that. Wallstedt is a stud. And he got hung out to dry in Dallas, and he had a shutout. Yeah, a shutout. Doesn't matter what team it's against. It's still an NHL team, and he got a shutout. That's pretty impressive. At any rate, I'm not worried about Wallstedt at all. He's going to be in fine form next year. Mark my words. So, those are the last 8 deals he's done in the last 2 years. How much confidence does that give you that Billy's going to do the right thing now, coming up? Of course, this all gets around to Rossi. He's not big enough. Well, if he's not big enough, how does 5'10" Krill make it then? It goes by talent. He's got a heart of a line. He's what I call a lunch pail player. He comes to work every day, makes no excuses. He gets in front of the net. He takes the beating. He's got one of the best 2-way games for a kid that I've seen in a long time. I mean, really, his 2-way game is excellent. 60 points in his 2nd year. That's excellent. He's going to turn 24, and that's when NHL hockey players will just start. That's when they seem to take off. I I don't know what else you can say about Rossi. There isn't anything that Billy can say that would sway me. Unless, of course, you're getting Tage Thompson for Rossi straight up. Then I could see that. But that's not happening. There isn't anything that he can say to change my mind on this. It's a huge mistake. And that's all part of crisis mode number 2, Billy, because you're the one in charge. You're making the trade for whoever it is. It doesn't matter. It's a mistake. And now that you're trading, you have to make sure and maximize the value. And the way teams are lining up and what I'm reading all over NHL boards and other podcasters, it looks like we're going to get a first round, an excellent player, and a player to be named. It seems to be the common theme right now. Now, I've heard a couple others, but that seems to be the prevailing deal. And it doesn't make much sense. Trade away center to get a center. Billy, I wish you would explain how that works to me, because I just don't see how it works. It's not common sense to me. And who knows? Maybe you'll return the question and give us an answer, because he's big enough to play in the NHL. You watch this next year. He's going to be an 80-point player, because wherever he goes, they're going to put him on the top line or his top second line, and he's going to play his heart out like he did here. He's done everything you asked from him, and this is how you're treating him. That doesn't go good around the NHL. Players talk all the time, and you're putting yourself in a corner that you're not going to be able to come out from. You know, and it was mentioned to me, I said it was a couple of years ago that players stopped coming here, and it started with McBain, and he's spot on. That's when it started. Players don't want to come play here. And which brings me to, I got a new segment, and every time I see a comment that's worth mentioning, and this one is especially good. It's by, let me get his name out here. I don't want to screw it up. Bob, is it Bob Bass? No, I got it written down here. Hold on, I'll find it. At any rate, you got it. Bob Lyons, 9773. My last show, which was on 512, he wrote a comment to me that was one of the best comments I've ever seen. And if you haven't read his comment, please go look at it, because you're getting a shout out because of it. I mean, you went right to the heart of the matter, starting from the Iowa Wild all the way up, and why kids don't want to come here, because they have nothing to play for, because they know when they get here, they don't get to play. And that's all so true. And so, Bob, you get my very first shout out for my new segment here. Congratulations. Secondly, starting next week, I'm going to have a 5-minute segment where anybody who wants to come on and express their views about something that's going on in the NHL, something that you just want to talk about for 5 minutes, you now can do that. Just email Seth, let him know, and we'll get it set up. So you can come on the show for 5 minutes and have a little fame and fortune. All right? All right, moving on. Looking at all the players that, you know, and this is all subjective, and we don't know what's going to happen. Tage Thompson is still my number 1 on the books, with Dylan, Detroit number 2. They make the most sense. Now, I've read that Pittsburgh really wants Rossi, but they don't want to give up Sid for it. So the only player that I can see that they have that I would be interested in is that, they just got him. He's a rookie.
Oh, Rutger McGroarty?
Yes. I don't know if that's, how big is he? I don't know.
That's a good question. Let me just find out.
Because I read that they'd be willing to give him up to get Rossi. Well, it'd have to be more than him, number one, but
Yeah.
he'd be part of the package.
He is. Oh, do they just stash him in the minors the whole year?
I don't know.
Where
That's just
did he
what
go?
I read from a podcaster.
Oh, here he is. 6'1".
Well, he fits the profile. He doesn't have to skate or shoot the puck. He just has to be big. Oh, I just don't understand Billy, and I never will. You know, when he first came here, it was thank God for Billy. Now it's, oh God, what's he going to do now? And that really is the truth. I see it everywhere. Everyone's worried. Everyone's scared what Billy's going to do, and for good reason. I just gave you 8 of them. I don't see anything's getting any better. His construction of a team is 90s, and now it's all about speed and skill. We've gone over this 100 times. And the only thing that's going to change is when Billy steps aside. You know, and I was thinking about this. If Judd Brackett doesn't want to become the GM, maybe we can add just one more title to his faceplate, and that would be in charge of picks, which he already is, and charge of trades. That's it. He doesn't have to do anything else. I would be fine with that. Something for you to think about, Billy. Just put him in charge of trades, keep him in charge of picks, and the Wild will be just fine. But what you're doing with your trades, you know, the last good trade you had was Fiala for Brock Faber. And that was a lucky one, you know. And I believe they offered us 3 different players, and Judd said Brock Faber right off the top of his head, is how I understand it. And for good reason. I mean, look what Brock has turned into. A very special player, and he'll be with us most likely his whole career, which is a good thing. And I don't know what else to talk about, Bill. I mean, I don't have anything good to say. What about you, Seth? What
Well, I want to get to this right
off.
off. I want to get to this right off the bat. Hoptic says, "Do any of you people in here agree with Denny's takes? I mean, I disagree with pretty much everything he's been saying lately."
Really? So you're in favor of picking up Nyquist and Brazil? Hot picks? What the hell are you smoking? What did they bring to the table? Nothing. How can you absolutely believe they did anything? 2 goals in 30 games. One does nothing for me. And what did Brazil? Nothing. I mean, yeah, you get it. What the hell are you smoking? Jesus. Billy hasn't done anything to help improve this team at all since the trade for Brock Faber. Nothing. Re-signing Wallstedt was a good move. Trading for Jurasek was a good move, but I think Judd had more to do that than Billy. So tell me, you're against everything. What do you see in those trades that are good for the team? You're on the spot now. Let's hear what you got to say. Because you've been on this show for a long time. And I can't believe you're saying that, but let's hear. What are the good things about Gustav Nyquist and Brazil that are so good? Yeah, we'll wait for you. God. In fact, I might have to do a talk just to get my mind right on that one.
We'll move on to some others here.
Yeah, we'll come back to you.
If trading Rossi is a mistake, what would the offer be? What should the offer be? AAV for him to stick around.
Well, I don't know if he even wants to stick around. I mean, he's been told the whole year that he doesn't fit Billy's plans. And he played well enough to where he knows he's going to be a top 6 player somewhere else. He said so, in fact. And he will be. I mean, teams are lining up with deals to make offers to get Rossi because Billy's the only one that thinks he can't play. And as far as the offer sheet deals go, Ross is going to get 8-8 from somebody. And he's well worth it. I mean, 8 years is a long time, but that's building your core. Or at least the same deal Boldy got. What did Boldy get?
7x7.
7x7. I would do 7x7 all day long. Because Ross is only going to get better. And Boldy, that's another thing. Everybody talks about Boldy. Now, if you recall, I told you that Billy brought in his mom and dad during the season after he went 23 games with lackluster play, what I call lollygagging up and down the ice. He had a heart-to-heart with his son, and he got his mind right. And look how well he's played ever since then. He's playing the Boldy that we all knew he could be. And that is all just getting your mind right. I mean, players, so much depends on their confidence. And for whatever reason, he lost his. And he wasn't putting in 100% effort. And now he is. I mean, or now he was. And look and see how he turned out. I mean, Boldy's Boldy. He's an excellent player, and he's only going to get better. I don't know. What are the offer sheets now? You got to be 8 years or $8 million to get a first, a third, and a fifth.
So since I just did an episode on this, I can talk about it. So basically, there are a couple of steps to the process. So in order for a team to be able to sign you to an offer sheet, the current team that you have the rights to has to give you a qualifying offer, which I'm sure the Wild will for Rossi, because he's a good enough player that you would want compensation back in return. And then any team that has their 2026 draft picks can submit an offer sheet for Rossi. He can choose which one he accepts. He has the say as to which one he gets to take. Then you get the compensation from that team. And there are different tiers. So
doesn't it go by the money?
Yeah. So it's like 0 to, well, here, I'm just going to give me just 1 second here. I have it saved in my, searches because I've talked about it so much. I just want to pull it up so I'm not just pulling numbers out of thin air. So 0 to 1.5 million is no compensation.
Right.
1.5 to 2.29 is a third round pick. 2.29 to 4.58 is a second round pick. 4.58 to 6.87 is a first and a third. 6.87 to 9.16 is a first, a second, and a third. And I'm going to tell you right now, that Matthew Coronado contract that he signed with the Flames, Rossi's getting 7+. He's getting 7+. He's better than Coronado. He's better than Ehlers. He's probably going to get something right on par with Boldy. And in that case, the Wild, if they go the offer sheet route, they get a first, a second, and a third round pick next year.
And you know what that guarantees you with the first, second, and third? You still won't get a player like Rossi. People don't realize just because you get all these picks, half the picks don't turn out.
Well,
at least half.
Here's where those picks can come in, though, is you can then trade those draft picks
for players. That's true. Yeah. That's a good point, Seth. Good point. And so with Rossi,
if it were me, That would probably be my preferred route if this is the route that we're going. Like if the train's already left the station, that this is the end outcome, is that you trade Marco Rossi. I would probably prefer, unless you're going to get like a proven NHLer in return, I'd probably prefer the offer sheet route. And then you use the compensation, you attach a veteran contract, and you go get somebody else.
Makes sense. That's good sense. I like it. I think it's a foregone conclusion that Rossi's gone. And it doesn't matter what the reasons are. He is. Now we got to figure out a way to maximize. The offer sheet for the first, second, third is absolutely, well, we have to get back for him. But I think he may trade it before. Well, when does the offer sheet start? The first day?
I think, yeah, July 1st, I think, is when you can officially do that. So you can tamper all you want as long as you don't get caught, right?
Well, that's why he had Bozer on the golf course at Legends, and that's why he talked to Brock Nelson at the Four Nations, face to face, head up. You can pretty much, as much as people don't want Brock Nelson or Brock Besser, they're both upgrades over what we have. Brock Nelson had 13 points in 19 games for Colorado. Yeah, he didn't do that much in the playoffs, but the whole team didn't do much in the playoffs. That's why they're not there. You can't just blame Brock Nelson. He is a step slower, which we all know, but he's still a quality player. He'd be number one on the team in faceoffs to begin with, just right off the top of my head. He's, 55, 56%?
Yeah, he's mid-50s as far as faceoffs go.
So he'd be our best. And if I was the coach, he'd be my fourth-line center. And I know Seth thinks that Hines will put him up at first or second. I don't see that. They got to play Yuroff at second-line center. Now that Yuroff is on, Hines has to play him.
Yeah.
And second-line center is where Yuroff is going to be, I think. That's where it should be anyway. He seems to be the most productive at center. I mean, you can always change in the wing if it doesn't work out. But after watching, I've watched 10, 15 minutes of tape of him now. He's got the foresight. He sees the game. He sees the game within the game. And he doesn't have to do much to change it. And that's when you see a sign of a really good player. Those are things I'm going to be talking about with my AI. Oh, let me bring this up. I finally have a company that's going to do my AI. They're out of London, England. And they already do a couple things on YouTube. If anybody watches Sports Factory in baseball, that's a simulated game, and that is done by the company that I'm going to be using for my hockey. And instead of using the Wild players, I'm going to have the Hanson brothers. And I can show you the 1-3-1, the 2-1-2, the 1-2-2, the 2-3, and the variations of it that are becoming popular today. And that's really exciting because what the hell are you smoking is that's going to be 2.0. And I get to actually show you what I see in a hockey game. Because, most people, when they watch a hockey game, they watch the puck. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I look at the game a different way, and I'm going to be able to show you now. And another thing is this is going to be a special show besides our 1 hour every week. And the only way you'll be able to watch it is if you are a subscriber. Because our numbers are not where they should be. And this is one way to kick them up because there's nobody in Hockey Podcast who's doing this. And you're going to find it's going to be very enlightening. You're going to look at hockey a whole different way when you start seeing what I'm going to show you. And then I'm going to get into the defensive systems, the power play systems. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I don't know, 2 weeks I'm thinking before it's all said and done. They said it won't be a problem changing to the hockey and all that stuff. It's just a matter of me conveying what I want and what programs they have so that for me to use.
Yeah, it might be best to just say it's coming at some point in June. Because I don't want to I don't want to say 3 weeks and then have something, unfortunately, a wrinkle get thrown in where they're like, it's going to take us a little bit to fix this.
Good point. But it is happening. And I'm excited. I'm really excited, actually. This is what my life is all about now, is talking about the Wild and teaching you about hockey, the game within the game. And I'm so forward looking to this. I mean, I really am. All right, next. Questions, comments. Is Hot Picks returned?
He is in transit right now. So I said safety first. I don't want people texting while driving or biking or anything. Like I'm sure he'll respond in the comments.
You can respond in the comments after.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really good one from Mark. Look at the teams that are remaining. They are building 3 lines of scoring and 1 line of checkers. Florida had 17 different players score in their first 10 games of the playoffs.
And they're fighting for the cup again. They're 4 lines deep, and they have Roboski. So, things are looking good for Florida. They're deep. They run a good system. And they're going to be hard to beat. I want to see Edmonton get there. I want to see the 2 best players in hockey finally win a cup. And with Edmonton, the whole thing is their goalie is the big question once again.
Yeah. A rematch with Edmonton winning would be kind of fun, because that was a fun series last year. I know Edmonton got off to the hot start, but Florida worked their way back. That would be fun to see a rematch go Edmonton's way this time.
Absolutely. In fact, Hot Picks, next week, you want 5 minutes of fame and fortune, send Seth an email and I'll have you on and you can explain to why I'm crazy. Oh, that'll be a good one. All right, go on. Next question.
Let's go to Nathan, circling back to Rossi. Says, as long as this franchise has needed center depth, it's foolish to me to trade Rossi. The dude shows up and plays.
You're spot on. I mean, he's what I call a lunch pail player. Comes to work every day. He does the best he can. It's a long season. You aren't going to give 100%. It just doesn't work that way. He's human. But, he goes to the front end of the net better than anybody than Eck. And he's just a kid. And he's going to take off. I mean, at the beginning of the season when I did my projections for all the players, I had Rossi at 80 points. If he would have had Kaprizov for the whole year, he would have hit 80 points. Same with Boldy. Kaprizov is so good, he makes anybody around him 20 points better for a whole season. And there are very few players in the NHL that can do that, but Kaprizov is one of them. And as long as Kaprizov is playing with really good players, he's going to excel. And you're right. Why trade for a center when we got one? But That's the $1 million question. What the hell is Billy thinking? I don't know.
Okay, we got to get to this now.
Okay.
The Tage Thompson steam is starting to pick up tremendously. And
oh, really?
Inadvertent omission by me in today's episode. I mainly because I had the light bulb that when Buffalo had lost 13 in a row, I'm like, boy, they need to make a change. How about we do something for Tage Thompson? But that went away. You've been all over it. What do you think about this? What I proposed in today's episode.
Okay.
So the Sabres, they're going to want a young center in return.
Yep.
They also, I think, are going to want some vets, particularly on the defensive side, because that D-core is very young and they need some help. Rossi and Brodin and whatever else for Tage Thompson.
Oh, absolutely. I'd do that in a heartbeat.
You'd need filler, I would imagine, but the Wild have prospects and picks to be able to do it.
Absolutely. I really like that. I would add Ogren, Height. I would not give up Charlie. I wouldn't give up Charlie Strano.
You have the prospects and the picks to be able to fill out the rest of that.
Yes, and you could give them the picks and let them pick.
And
give the players and let them pick.
Here's the other thing, because I see somebody responding to this on X and saying there's no way Buffalo would trade a superstar. Jack Eichel, Sam Reinhart.
Yeah, the list goes on in Buffalo.
There's some precedence here. There's some precedence here.
Well, you know, the reason I brought this up, what was it, 3 weeks, a month ago? Something like that. Is number one, Buffalo is in chaos again. They don't know if they're keeping their general manager. They don't know if they're keeping their coach. Everything is up in the air right now. And if there's ever a time to make an offer that they can't say no to, is now. And we have the assets to fill out what Buffalo needs. Now, of course, I wouldn't have Zeev, I wouldn't have Jurasek in the list.
And I don't know that they would necessarily want those guys either. I mean, obviously they would take a guy like Zeev Boyum, but like I just said, their D-core, I'm pulling their roster up right now. They've got Rasmus Dahlin, Owen Power, Matthias Samuelsson, Bowen Byram, and Jacob Bernard Docker are all under 25.
Yep. And it shows. They have good games and bad games. And who better than Brodin to teach them? That's an excellent take. Jesus said, the more I think about it, the more I like it.
And I want to bring this up too. Britt in the comments is saying, if Thompson's that good, why are they willing to let him go? It's not that Buffalo is necessarily wanting to make that type of a move. This is where you got to kind of entice them to do it. We're assuming that at some point, if this continues, that he's going to get sick of going nowhere, and that they are going to say, well, we have to take a step back, and having a guy like Thompson on the roster while we are doing so doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, they're not getting there with them. And what we're offering is a hell of an offer. I mean, you know, we're talking 5-6 players for Tage. And assets are assets. They're there to be used, to be traded. And, you know, like I said, Buffalo's in chaos right now. They don't know what the hell they're going to do. And there's no better time to make an offer that you can't hardly say no to than now. And putting Brodin in there is the cherry on the cake there. Yeah, I'd hate to give up Brodin. But with the defense that we got coming in, because we need either Spurgeon or Brodin to help the kids find their place and to teach them the ins and outs. And Spurgeon has much better stick work than Brodeen does. Brodeen's a better skater, and he's a little bigger. And, we all know the differences. They're both excellent. I thought they're top 10 for the whole year, and they were. And one of the biggest things about Hines, he didn't play in the last game in Anaheim, which was a huge mistake, but by design. I think the more I think about it, he did that on purpose. He threw him into the fire just so he could see him make a mistake so he could pull him, and that's what he did. Because Zeev should have been every game. To pull Zeev for, a little miscue, and we've gone over this. Well, you could pull half the team for miscues. And, that's Hines. He just doesn't like the kids, and that's why Hines has to go. And I'm not getting over it. Hines is not the right coach for it. He's a good coach. He'll be a winning coach somewhere else, but not for us. The kids are coming in, and that's the way it is. And with Murov, he has no choice. He has to play.
Good point by Big Ticket KG21 here. Would miss Brodeen, but not the 25 to 35 games you can pencil him in to miss.
Well, you could say that about a lot of players in today's games. Everybody's getting hurt. Blocking shots is, I talked about this before. In fact, I'm going to talk about this again in the future. In the 70s and the 80s, players didn't very rarely block shots. And when they did, they slid into them. And what I mean is they'd slide into the puck and they'd hit him in the stomach or the chest or whatever. Now they're using their feet and their legs to get in front of the shot. And look what's happening. I mean, not just in the Wild, it's happening everywhere. Is it worth losing a player to block one shot for however long it is, 30 days, 60 days, whatever, to block one shot, when all you got to do is clear out the front of the net, let the goalie see the shot, more than likely is going to stop it. I mean, that's what they do. 95% of the shots from the blue line, if you could see them, you're going to stop them. There are very few players that have over 100-mile-an-hour shot that's accurate enough to score. You get the fluky ones once in a while, but if I was coach, I'd let them take those shots all day long. And then all I got to do is clear out the front of the net, and when it gets in tight, slide into the puck. It worked really well in the 70s and 80s, and I don't see why it can't work again. Hockey evolves, and it's played over and over and over again. Like I mentioned before, the 1-3-1 trap that I thought Jacques Lemaire invented, he actually did. Toronto Marlies did it in the 1950s. But the 1-3-1 is still prevalent today because it's that good. And you don't see players blocking their shots with their legs or their feet. It's all sliding into the puck. And I wish we go back to that because be a lot less injuries. Because really, is one shot worth being off the team for a couple months or a month and a half, whatever it is, from a broken bone? Not to me, it isn't. I would teach a different way. Slide into the puck, really. The game has changed a lot. It's gotten a lot faster, and the players are in so much better shape now. And this is another thing I want to bring up. Everybody keeps talking about 35 is old. Well, 35 is the end of your career for just about everybody. There are a few exceptions. Sid is one. And you look at Zuccarello. He's doing just fine. He has lost a half a step or a step, but you know what? He makes up for it with his smarts. Instead of using his speed to get to the point, he reads the play and gets there because of his smarts. And today's game, when you hit 35, is when you're at the end of your career. And all these people are talking about 32, 33 is too old. No, it isn't. Not in today's game. They work year round. They got dietitians. And 35 is really the old 30. And there are exceptions to, like I was saying, Sid's going to be 40 when he's done. And right now, McKinnon is trying so hard to get him to come to Colorado. It's unbelievable. And if McKinnon wants Sid to play next to him, well, you know how good Sid is. I mean, if you watch him in the Canada, oh, Jesus, what a player. And he started his career right here in Minnesota. He's still the highest scoring high school offense. He's got all the point records for high school still today. And he's got connections here. He's got a lot of friends here. Who knows? Maybe Sid would like to come home and finish his career, because I would take him in a second. Because the one thing he brings that nobody else does, if we sign Sid, we could be considered a cup contender tomorrow with Sid on the team. That's how special he is. And, all the hype about him is absolutely true. His eye-to-hand coordination is the best I've ever seen, and I've watched thousands of players. There's nobody compares to him. Pavel Datsyuk was pretty good, but doesn't come close to Sid the kid. And if he did come here, we would be instant contenders just because of him. And there's no other player that we could sign right now that would even come close to that. And that's my part for Sid, because I know nobody wants him either because he's too old.
I mean,
he's an exception.
So let me clarify my stance on the whole too old thing.
Yeah.
I worry with Brock Nelson. Here's my concern. I worry about, with Colorado involved, what you're going to have to pay, what you're going to have to offer in order for him to come here. Are you going to have to go to 4 or 5 years to convince him to come here? And are you going to have to go to $8-9 million a year to do it?
Not a chance in hell. Most teams don't want him. Colorado certainly is going to re-sign him. I'm sure they're glad they did re-sign him, in fact. 2-year deal max, $3-4 million. He's already made all the money. He's made over $50 million in his lifetime as a hockey player. It's not about the money. Now it's about getting the cup. And he would be the perfect fourth line center for us. I don't care if he's 33 years old. He still brings a lot to the table. And sign him to a 2-year contract, 2-year, $8 million would be my best offer. He's not a $5 million player anymore. And then he would be happy with that. He's made all the money. Now he just wants to win a cup. And, I've talked about his family and all the things that his family throughout the state of Minnesota and what they bring. And I talked about can you imagine him sitting down at Turkey Day with the rest of the family and him not playing with the Wild when he had a chance to? Oh boy, that would be a fun day. Because, the Christian brothers are a big part of Minnesota hockey. And he's part of the Christian Brothers family. And it's just an extension. And one that I'm absolutely certain he's going to do. I mean, I've thought about this. And I brought this up, 4 months ago? About Brock? Well, he's still a damn good player. He's not as fast as he was, but so what? Fourth line? He'd be the best fourth liner we've ever had for center. Be our best face-off. You can expect 30, 35 points, maybe 40 if he has a really good year. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, what was our best player? 10 points on the fourth line.
Yeah.
We really got to help our fourth line. With Urov coming in, that's going to help. And I don't know what to think of Brock Boza. I mean, he's a 50-point player. You can count on that. That's what he's done his whole life. He's had one 40-goal season. But he's 50 points every year. And he's a little lackadaisical on his two-way play, but I think playing in front of family and friends, in front of his hometown, you're going to see the best from him. So I don't have a problem if they sign him. I wouldn't give him $8 million though. I would give him $7 million though. With the cap going up, that's about equal. I think he's getting what, 6.5 now?
Yeah.
Or something close to that. Yeah, you give him a raise of 7, maybe 7.5, but I wouldn't go no higher than that. 50-point players, there's a lot of 50-point players. But we'll see. So we get Besser with the year off and Boldy on the second line. Now that would be a one hell of a line. And then you got to keep Zugzak and Kaprizov on the first line. Well, now we got 2 scoring lines, which we haven't had in so long, as you've talked about earlier. Since Fiala left, we haven't had a second line. It's all been piecework, and nothing's worked out. And I think that has a lot to do with the coaching too. Any more questions?
Well, I'll kind of piggyback off of my age comment too. Is like it's one thing to give a 4, a 5, or a 6-year deal to somebody that's 28.
Yep.
As opposed to doing that for somebody that's 33. Because if you give a 5-year deal to somebody that's 28, the deal is done when they're 33. So you're most likely have avoided any sort of downturn in the stats. But if it's somebody that's 33 and you say, well, we got to give him a 6-year deal to convince him to come here, that's probably going to bite you.
Most likely.
That's my whole stance on the whole, like, let's make sure we're not signing old players. Is let's think more about what sort of a contract it's going to entail for said player, as opposed to, like, because if Sidney Crosby came here on a 1 or a 2-year deal, you really going to turn that down? No, because he's still productive at where he's at in his career.
Very productive.
So it's
65% in the faceoffs.
It's just about trying to avoid what happened with Gustav Nyquist, where he is coming in off of a bad season. The scouting department has acknowledged that he has lost a step, and you just ignore it, and you jettison a 2nd-round pick just for the sake of making a move.
Well, there again, crisis mode, part 2, Billy. Doesn't care that he can't skate. Doesn't care he can't shoot. He was good once, and I know him. He's a Billy's boy. God. And hot picks, I don't know. I can't wait to hear your answers. And if you want to come on the show and talk about it, we're going to have you on. Because you've been a member of the family for a long time. And this will be a good one. Because I think you're absolutely going to get rocked on the answers from everybody. Jesus. I don't know what you can see in Nyquist in Brazil, period. Nothing. They brought nothing to the table. That's all, Billy. Any more questions? Or answers? Or
let's
comments?
go to this from Mike. There are so many teams looking for a center. They are all going to be overpaid unless they have a destination they're willing to play at a discount. And this is where the trade route comes in. Is if you can trade for somebody that's already on a contract, you can control some of that cost. The other thing too, and we did the episode today talking about Mitch Marner and how I just would not, I just am not super enthused about giving Marner $13 million that he's asking for. it's not to say that he's not a good player. There are more needs than just one guy. And to throw all that money at one person, you're still going to have some of the same issues. So I would just rather spread the money out. I think ultimately the best route for this team to go to make a center acquisition is via trade.
Well, we'll see what the teams have to offer. I mean, honestly, I know teams are lining up. And my thoughts on Mitch Marner is this, and I said this before the start of the series. He's not good in tight. He's not good in short space. And that's why in the playoffs he doesn't do very well, because he won't fight for the puck. He doesn't give that extra 10% needed to win the puck battles. And that's always been his problem and always will be. He's a great player, 100-point man. But the playoffs are a whole different animal. And you got to fight for your space up and down the rink. And that's just the way it is. It's a different game. And I would pass on him all day long. He's not worth $13 million in my books. He's a 100-point player because he has two fantastic players next to him. If he's with just a good player, he's probably 80, 85 points a year. And that's probably what you're going to see from him next year, depending on where he goes. He'll probably be the best player wherever he goes next, because who's got $13 million to spend? There's very few teams that do. And that's even with the cap going up, because they all got to think about what they got to sign anyway. Just, it is what it is. And if Toronto doesn't want to keep him, what does that tell you? They're tired of no production in the playoffs. And for him, what do you have? 2 goals the whole series?
2 goals.
Yeah, 2 goals the whole series. And he wants $13 million. Yeah, he needed to win a couple games by himself to get that kind of money. But, I'm not, because he's not coming here, I can tell you that. They don't have the money for him. Because really, when you think about everything that goes out, Kaprizov's going to get $15 million. There's no question about it. I've been saying this for forever. And how many players we got to sign? Gus Bus, Wallstead. Is Wallstead? He's in his last year next year, right?
He's got a 2-year deal that starts this upcoming season.
Oh, okay. So we're good for another year there. And we got to sign some players. Year off, he just got signed, which is a good thing. And I really like how he's got his contract set. If he doesn't like the way they're using him, he'll just go back to Russia, and there's nothing they can do about it. So Hines has to treat him with respect and let him play. Because my thoughts on this, I don't care how good you are or how bad you are. You got to give a player 20 games and see what he brings to the table. I don't care who you are. You got to see 20 games before you can make an evaluation on a new player and whether it fits with the team or doesn't, and what he's got to do better, whatever. 20 games is my minimum. And the way Hines treated Z. Boehm is a disgrace. And he should be fired just for that, not including everything else I've talked about. Just that alone. Just gets me riled up thinking about it. God. Ben, I think we should end the show unless we got any more questions.
Well, we got one more, and I might have to dig into this a little bit. Marco Rossi for Alexei Lafreniere from the New York Rangers.
Yep. Nope. Lafreniere was the number 1 pick, and he's a third liner. He's a good third liner, but he's a third liner. I would hard pass on him. He doesn't work hard enough. He's got talent, but as he showed in New York, he's not all that.
And then the final one, Are Hinostroza and Juracek not going to be playing next season? Those two are better than half the roster, in my opinion. Hinostroza will be, because he is signed for next season too. Question is Juracek, and that I think depends if a defenseman is moved to bring somebody in offensively.
Well, if they re-sign Morel, I think the crowd's going to erupt. They want to see Juracek. They want to see Steve William. It's time for the kids. Time for Hines to move on. I don't care if you like him. You need to go play with a bunch of the old slow boys and see how well you do. As I've had enough of Hines. His playoff performance was terrible. In fact, I'll bring this up. Last week I was talking about grade. I forgot to give you my grade on Hines. F for failure. There you go, folks. And with that, I'm going to say goodnight. My butt hurts. I got to lay down. As you know, I'm dealing with all kinds of things. And whatever the doctors are doing, it is actually helping me. I can keep my thoughts constant now. And I can talk and think at the same time, which I couldn't do for a long time. So things are getting better for me. I'm on the right road to recovery. And thank you, everybody who's put in all the nice words for me. Thank you so much. This is my life, and I really do appreciate it. And with that, I say good night. See you next Sunday.